But first, more people have been spending time in the garden during this pandemic. If you're among this new crop of green thumbs, check out Rose Schmidt's story before digging into dirt this spring.
As the beautiful world around us prepares to bloom,
the grasses are green
in warm spring colors.
I do have the itch to get outside and to plant some cool season crops.
You may have the itch to get trowels in your hands and seeds in the ground. Hopeful that winter is coming to a close.
We seem to be having an early spring season for gardening, which is a bit unusual.
But Vijay Pandian reminds us that the weather can still turn at any second.
We are 1 month ahead, so just be patient.
He's a horticultural educator with UW-Madison Extension. He plants a smile as he talks about gardening.
I find it more rewarding. It's a passion, it's an interest that I had from my childhood. And at the same time, as part of my job, I want to share this knowledge to everyone.
Vijay showed us around this garden at the Kenosha County Center, where he tests different vegetable varieties bred all over the country.
Like a cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, they need a minimum soil temperature of 45 degrees. So you can see right now, that it's getting close to 48 degrees.
It's early in the season, but right now he recommends checking your soil temperature and doing a soil test.
Go about 5 inches deep and then take a core sample and you put it in a bag like this.
You can send the sample off to a lab. That will tell you what nutrients your yard is lacking. It's also tree inspection time.
If this was next to a house, it could cause a lot of damage.
Adam Passo is the district manager at Davey Tree in New Berlin.
It needs a cable pretty badly because it's eventually probably going to tip over.
And a pretty big tree enthusiast.
They do so much for us. They reduce cooling costs, they mitigate stormwater.
Spring is a good time to take a closer look at your trees.
Animals didn't disrupt them over the winter. Nothing broke in the heavy snows that we got.
He also calls it disease season.
Making sure that your trees are protected with fungicides a lot of times, keeping the fungus off the leaves.
And says it's the perfect time to mulch.
When you're mulching, make sure you don't have any mulch touching the trunk. That's really bad for the tree.
Our gardening and tree experts both agree, with people at home more, the pandemic planted a seed.
And I think because a lot of people have jumped into gardening last year as well as this year, there's also a huge shortage for seeds.
Now is the perfect time for you to start growing cool season crops indoors that you can transplant outside in a few weeks.
So if you do want to order some seeds, place those orders right away, right now, or go to your garden center probably in late April, early May and get some transplants.
And don't forget about your trees.
If you're planting an evergreen, I always recommend spring.
Our perennial partners that do so much for us.
I always try and preach every tree that we take down, plant 2 more in its place.
Adam did that in his own yard, taking down 15 last year.
A little bit of rot going on in there.
And planting 30 more.
We need to remember that this paint needs to face south, always south.
Because the smallest things can turn into the most beautiful.
I think the pandemic, one thing, has created as an opportunity for many people to grow their own food in their own backyard.
And make you appreciate what you once took for granted.
I think the garden is kind of ready